So what's up, Ursa? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Have you been doing much training at the moment?
Um, as much as I could, or getting most from the good weather, and just yeah, going for walks, spending time with family, training for myself, but not much other than that.
Yeah. Were you in Slovenia when all this kicked off, or were you in college? Because as you go to college in Germany, is that right?
Yeah. So I actually came home from Germany. It was planned for just a couple of weeks first, and then the next day it was locked down. So I came at the last time.
Ah, lucky, lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, if I would have stayed back in Germany, like in my little room over there, that would be quite miserable now.
Would you have been the only one there?
uh, I have a few roommates, but it's still like, you just have a room and
Not the same as being around family.
yeah, yeah.
And were you going to be at the European Championships this year?
Yeah, that was the plan.
Yeah. So it's a shame they got cancelled.
Yeah, it really is. And
I watched.
also everything, like it's unsure what competitions are going to be held this year. So it's all so uncertain now.
Yeah. What do you think? Do you think the World Cup will go ahead?
I don't know. I really hope so, but I think even if it does, for sure, not with as many competitors as they would have hoped. What do
Yeah.
you think?
Um, I think it might be best to cancel it and maybe save it till 2022. Like
Mhm.
give him a chance to give Thomas and the rest a chance to host it. But I don't think this year is going to be a good year for big tournaments.
Yeah, that's true. Like people are not training or being selected or yeah.
Yeah, so I like that. Even if I keep saying, even if it comes around to October and you can host these big events, if people haven't been able to train for them, they're not going to go. So
Yeah, exactly. And like you also have to plan in advance, so it's pretty tricky.
yeah, like nobody's going to have flights booked or accommodation at this stage. Um,
Yeah.
so and who knows, like when will you even get a chance to book flights or anything like that? Because who knows what's going to happen. So
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
I think it's best to maybe not call it off, but postpone it till 2022.
Mhm. Yeah, that would be a solution.
And so how did you get started in Taekwondo and kickboxing?
I started with Taekwondo in 2005 when I was 9, uh, and kickboxing a couple of years later because almost everyone at our club was starting to do both, to compete in both. So yeah, it was a random decision. I was doing gymnastics before that, and then I just wanted to change, and yeah, ended up there.
And do you think gymnastics helped with you starting off?
Uh, I I think it did, yeah, for sure, with all the high kicks and everything, and just general flexibility, so on. So I think it's a good start.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of kids come into the club who have a background in gymnastics, and
Mm-hmm.
straight away like you can teach them most of the kicks in 1 or 2 days because they have the flexibility, they have the strength and the kind of, I suppose, motor control to be able to make the kicks work. It's just they need a couple of chances to practice the reps, and so it's always good when you see somebody who has a background in gymnastics come in because it's you can progress quickly.
Yeah, like the general strength and everything, right? Like,
Yeah. Did you keep up gymnastics for much longer after you started taekwondo?
no, I quit gymnastics and started taekwondo. So
So it'd
yeah.
be and did you then? I'm presuming you would have got into competing straight away.
I think my first competition as a probably yellow belt was like 1.5 years after I started. But yeah, I actually wasn't a big fan of sparring at first. Like I wouldn't know. I just wanted to score a point. I didn't want to really get into a fight. So I preferred patterns, funnily enough.
Yeah, I was the same for most of my
Yeah.
time as a color belt. Most of my time as a color belt was always did better in patterns, preferred the
Mm-hmm.
patterns. Yeah, for fighting, just I would be okay in the club, but in the
Mm-hmm.
competition, just never seemed to do quite well. Never was able to do quite as well in competition as I did in the club. Like that, I think
Mm-hmm.
the idea is I think you're kind of taught as a kid maybe fighting is bad and you're not supposed to fight, and then kind of
maybe, or like hurt someone because you kick them. I don't know.
yeah. So I think that maybe just carried over to the competition, but I think then you start to get to, but for me anyway, I kind of got to closer to teenage years, and fighting kind of seemed a bit more cool then, or it seemed like, oh yeah, that's something I want to do. So I think that's when I started to take more of an interest in sparring. But yeah, funny how it sometimes goes like that, that you start off interested in one discipline, but it's not necessarily a discipline then you go on to be more successful in.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they like, yeah, like that. Would you have won many medals in patterns then, or would you have been successful as a color belt?
Yeah, but those were just like in small international competitions or local competitions here. So I was always doing both. I didn't like just do patterns, but I just remembered I enjoyed it more then.
Yeah. Do you think it was like did you feel like you said maybe more control over the performance? Just do it like with the patterns.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe because like when you were doing patterns, you always knew exactly what to do, what was your job. But in sparring, you could easily get lost, just or stressed over what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that was one thing for me as well. Actually, it was the patterns I knew when I stepped out on the floor. It's like if it's Dosan, you do 24 movements, do them in the right order, do them as close to perfect as you can, and that's it. But sparring, trying to figure out what the other, like I was never good at watching the other person and figure out what they keep doing. Not at that age. So yeah, I think that's why patterns was for me was just step out and do your thing.
That's a good point. Actually, I never thought about it, but you actually have more control over that then. So for a beginner, it's maybe more enjoyable.
Yeah. So then, when would you have graded to black belt?
I graded for black belt in 2010, and then I think almost like a month after that, I would go to the European Championships in Sweden, and that's where it started. Yeah.
Yeah, that was your first one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I've been to kickboxing European Championships the year before, but it was a cadet championships.
Did you find that? How did you find that European Championships in Sweden? Did you find it as a kind of a shock, or do you think the WAKO European Championships the year before kind of helped prepare you for what you were going to step into?
I think it was definitely a shock, and also compared to the WAKOs the year before, I was still competing as a cadet, and I just thought the level was not as high as it is today in WAKO, and in Taekwondo it was just so many good competitors and like a bit overwhelming. I think you were also there, weren't you?
Yeah, that was my first one. Yeah, it's a long time ago.
How did you find it?
Yeah, it was definitely an experience. I had been to the World Cup in 2008, but then I don't know, there was something just a bit different about that European Championships. I think maybe because like not everybody can go to the World Cup. Like you have to be selected, and you're with like it's Team Ireland or it would have been Team Slovenia. Like I think it's just something a bit more, I suppose, prestigious about it. That the nerves are kicking in, and you're seeing and you see like
and only black belts.
Only black belts, yeah. And you're walking around like you're walking past world champions, European champions, like guys who could be legends in the sport. Like, and you're just walking past them. You could be warming up next to them. It's something that's it takes getting used to.
Yeah, if you're really unlucky, you have them first fight.
yeah.
I was actually also in the World Cup 2008, but I was a blue belt, so I don't really count it as a. But yeah, just to get an experience, that was cool.
Yeah, I had just graded to black belt at that time. I was a black belt. I did I think 2 local competitions, and then our competition was the World Cup. So I'd only just graded to black belt. So that was a bit of a shock as well.
How did you do?
I think I lost first round in patterns, and I won. I lost second round in sparring.
Okay.
I like that. Yeah, like that. I think even I think Adrian made the point even that when you were talking to him the other day, him and Richie, that you go into some matches and it's nearly all a blur, and you come out and you're kind of like hadn't a clue about what happened. I was very much like that in 2008, whereas like I had even forgot there was a scoreboard. I felt in the match I was winning, and I was fighting like I was winning, and it was only when I came out it was like 3-1 to the other guy. It was like, okay, it didn't feel like that.
How did that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
These fights are always a blur. Yeah, I also don't remember a lot of them.
Yeah. How did you do in Sweden in 2010?
I lost the first round against some Polish girl. Yeah, I also don't remember anything from that. So
Yeah. Did you just do sparring? Had kind of sparring taken over at that stage, or were you still doing some patterns?
as a junior, I was doing also patterns at like the major competitions, but yeah, I think I lost also in Sweden. I didn't do anything.
And so then did your training kind of change after that? Did it kind of give you did it change maybe your approach to training, maybe dedication, or did you start adding more training, or did it give you a bit of I suppose a wake up call maybe to kind of the level that you have to get to if you're going to achieve at the really highest level?
Yeah, I'm sure it must have moved something in anyone who would come to a competition like that for the first time. And yeah, you see how good some people are and how good you have to get in order to compete with them. And yeah, I'm sure it was a factor that changed the training forwards. And also we knew that the world championships were going to be held like the year after in New Zealand, and that was also motivation to just keep going.
Yeah, I suppose it was such a far way to travel. You kind of wanted to be prepared to perform in New Zealand.
Yeah, exactly.
So how did you get on there in New Zealand? Did you manage to get a medal? Because I know you were quite successful as a junior. It seemed like you were always on the podium. So
actually, in New Zealand, I lost before the medal, so that was yeah. But for the rest of the competitions, I was winning more. But in New Zealand, it was not one of my best ones, unfortunately. So
yeah. So at
I was
20,
also 15 there, so
yeah, like that.
still in the beginning of yeah.
Yeah, it makes a difference, doesn't it? Like when you see, like you could at juniors, you can have somebody who's maybe just got their black belt, they're just turned 14, and they're going stepping out, and you could be competing against somebody who's 18, has 5 championships behind them, all that experience, and like that, it could nearly be like an adult against a kid, and
It is.
it's kind of that balance. Like so, it can be tough for when you just break in the difference in experience level.
Yes, for sure. And they could be turning 18 in a month or already have some experience in seniors but the whole Slovenian team did really good on that championships. So at least it was good to be a part of it for this one.
Yeah, we lost to the guys in the team sparring. It was
Really?
yeah, we lost to the guys. I had broken my wrist in the competition and I couldn't spar, so we only had 5 anyway, and then I was out, so we only had 4. So so it was always going to be tough because Slovenia had a good team then, so it was going to be tough to beat them with 5, and then we only had 4.
You broke it in your individual sparring?
Yeah, against a Jamaican guy. I went to throw a turning kick, Dolio Chaggy, and he kind of caught my leg and pushed, and I just fell back and broke my wrist. So I was out of the team then.
Oh, that's bad timing for that to happen.
Yeah, I went all that way to break my wrist. So it was
at least
tough.
you saw New Zealand, but a bit of it.
That was one benefit. Yeah, that was one, and we were there quite a bit before the tournament started for to get over the jet lag and stuff, and so it was an experience, I suppose. Yeah,
for sure.
So like when did you really start? So I think it was after that then you kind of really started to have some success then.
Yeah, so in 2012 I won my first European Championships here in Maribor, and also the year after that, and then in 2014 I turned seniors and won my first European Championships then. So yeah, I think 2012 was like the year when I started winning more in Taekwondo.
And what did you find that feeling like winning at home in Maribor?
Oh, it was amazing. I still remember I was, I think, 16 at that time, and like also like fighting in the gala and everything. It was overwhelming, and at the same time it was a blur in a way that I don't remember it was just, it started and it finished, and they raised my hand, and yeah, it was a really cool experience.
Yeah. What was it like to have maybe family and maybe even some friends at the tournament?
Yeah, that was also something new. Like, for example, my high school teacher also came to watch it, and yeah, it was a nice.
Yeah, it's something different because like the Worlds in Ireland was the first and only time my parents have been to a tournament that big, so like the win with them there was kind of cool, so yeah, I would imagine the same. Like it's hard to explain to people, kind of, even I suppose friends and people in the club. It's hard to explain to them what these tournaments are like, how big.
Even if they just see a video, it's not the same, like the atmosphere and everything, right?
Yeah, it's hard to explain. So for them to be able to be there and experience it is class.
Also means more to you, right? Like if you're successful, even better. But
yeah, I do. It wasn't something I thought of even. I didn't really think of before the tournament, but it was only like looking back now. It's kind of like, yeah, that was cool to have your family and some friends there.
Yeah. And also Team Ireland was very successful at that championships, right? 2017.
Yeah, number one in the world. We got to number one just on sparring, pretty much.
It's so interesting, isn't it? That because it was held and like giving all the motivation and everything to. I mean, of course, you would prepare also for any other, if it was held in any other country, but just to see how the whole team, you know.
Yeah, but even like when it was held in, I think it happens quite a lot, because even when the European Championships were held in Slovenia, like even in 2012, Slovenia were very successful there.
Yeah, that's what I meant also.
Yeah. So yeah, you see it quite a lot actually, because I think like, New Zealand did very well. You often see the home country does do very well.
Yeah, but it's funny when you think about it, because every country trains hard. It's not like someone, okay, it's not in my country, so I won't. But it's just something extra. I don't know.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking. It was like that. But I'm sure we're even the same. But when it's held in Slovenia, that you're not really, like, I wasn't in training for the Worlds in Ireland going, I have to train the hardest I've ever trained because it's in Ireland. Because then it's kind of, well, how hard were you training before that? Like you said. So it was like that. It wasn't like it was a big deal in training. It's just when it happens, when the tournament comes around, you're just that more motivated.
Yeah, it's like you give that something more out of yourself, I don't know. And you see that the others succeeded from your team, and maybe that's
And so then, I know you said like 2014 was kind of your first one at senior. Did you find, maybe not because you were successful maybe straight away, but did you think there was going to be much of a transition? Did you think the transition from junior to senior would be a bit harder than it was?
Yeah, I knew it was going to be hard, but I was kind of looking forward to it, just because I felt like we were more or less the same girls in the categories in the juniors, when you fight against the same people over and over again. And I just, even if I would lose, I would fight someone new. So I don't know. I think it was also what we talked about with Richie and Adrian, that you're not, how can I say that? You don't put so much pressure on yourself, and you just do your thing. And
yeah, definitely. I think that is a big thing. It takes some pressure off going from junior to senior, because I think the first maybe one is kind of like, I'm new in the division, I'm not expected to win, and then so that kind of takes something
and
off.
Nobody knows you, nobody pays much attention to you, right?
Yeah, so then you find then that you, without that pressure of feeling like people know who you are, then you can end up just focusing on your performance.
Yeah, I mean, you still do your best, but it's just the mentality is different, I think.
But I'm already saying that final, because I kind of remember the final you had in Riccione. It was against a Russian girl. Is that right?
Yeah.
It kind of, did it flip towards the end? Did you score a head kick towards the end and it flipped?
Yeah, you remember correctly.
Yeah,
it was. I think it. I think it was a draw more or less. It was not going like either way, like during the fight. But I know in the end there was or was it even a side kick? I don't remember. But yeah, that's in the last seconds it turned, and yeah.
Yeah, I definitely. I remember. Yeah, there was a clean score from your side. That was like the cleanest score of the fight, and it flipped it over towards you. Yeah. So, I can't. Who was the Russian girl again? What was her name? I can't.
Ekaterina Kozlatchkova.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was as well, but I wasn't totally sure. So yeah, I do remember that fight. Yeah,
and also like her being the big name that we were talking about. Like I just heard that she won so many times before, but yeah, I don't know.
Oh yeah, but it maybe feels better now looking back that's a really good win to have maybe on the
sure.
CV.
Yeah.
And to beat her in the final as well.
Yeah, that's too. We fought one more time the year after the Euros, and it was a draw again. But then she scored in the last second, so then she won, and that was the last time we fought. So.
Yeah, I think she would have stopped competing around that after that. Then was she sparring? She would have stopped sparring.
Yeah, I think that must have been her last competition. Yeah, I mean in sparring.
Yeah. So then. You would have been competing in WAKO all that time as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So from 2009.
Yeah, and you're having success there as well. When did you start winning medals in WAKO then?
So I became world champion in 2010 in the cadets. That's up to 15 years. So that was my first medal there. Yeah.
Yeah, and was it always kind of light contact that you did? I suppose like the Thomas is more so the light contact. You don't do much points.
No, we never did it, but I did it for a year or maybe two, because for my bachelor's I moved to another town in Slovenia. Actually, I was studying in Koper, so where the World Cup was going to be, and I was training in another club there, and a few guys there did point fighting, so I would train with them sometimes. But it was always just for fun. I didn't plan to start competing like seriously in it.
Yeah. Why do you think you never did points in with Thomas's club in Maribor?
I don't know. We just never. I think in a regular kickboxing class, it was also oriented towards slight contact, and like all the combinations and everything was for that. I don't know. I remember sometimes we would, for like a national championships or something, that a few of us would register also for point fighting, but it was all just to give it a try. It was never like directed to.
Yeah. I think Thomas is all about wants to fight, not so much just the touch and stop.
Yeah, maybe that's also always continue the.
Yeah. But you've done kick light as well?
No,
right?
never. That's one discipline I never did. No.
Would you try it?
I don't think so. I'm not very no.
Yeah, you don't think there'd be a good crossover from maybe Taekwondo to the light contact that you could maybe carry to the kick light?
I think I could, and even if I would fight it, I would probably find more or less the same as I do in light contact, but just the low kick scores would, yeah.
Yeah, it's not something I would have tried either. But anybody I've heard take a good leg kick has said it's not fun.
Yeah. I was actually listening to the podcast we did with Elijah when he said like the toll it takes on your legs, and I can just imagine that, and it's hard enough as it is already. So
yeah, it's like that, and the fact that he was able to win, that's why I think it's lasted. He was taking kicks in the legs and then was still able to win in points and like
yeah.
So like then as a senior, then how many medals have you won as a senior then in terms of Taekwondo? Because again, you've been very successful as a senior. You've been pretty much as successful as a senior, I think, as nearly as a junior.
I think it's almost the same in the medal count, I think. And I can't believe I've been a senior for 5 years now, or 6 years now. feeling old. And I think so altogether I've been 5 times European champion in Taekwondo, and 2 of that were in juniors, so 3 times as a senior. Yeah. And in world championships I was second in juniors and second in seniors, so last year in Germany. Yeah, that's the one title I'm still striving to win one day.
Do you have that? Do you find that helps keep you motivated?
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think the senior European titles did they mean a little bit more than the junior ones to you? Do you think?
Yes, for sure. Just because I think the competitors were on such a high level, and but at the same time, when in 2012 it meant the most to me because it's the first time for sure, and then it's the most you can do. You can't choose and go into seniors,
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, like juniors, I suppose a 15-year-old can't suddenly just decide he's going to be
Yeah,
18 or 19. So it's the highest level they can compete in. But yeah, I definitely think to me to win at senior is I suppose it's the highest level you can get to. To win a senior title is like the pinnacle.
Yeah,
like you said,
definitely.
not that winning as a junior doesn't mean anything. It is still a fantastic
Not at
achievement,
all,
but I think that just it means that little bit more if you can be successful as a senior.
Yeah, like when you win as a senior and look back on winning as a junior, it just doesn't seem to matter as much.
Yeah, well,
At
like that
that
then.
time.
Yeah, well, like that then. You only realize once you've got the senior.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because as a junior, that's the best you can do, and you're happy, and you reached it, and that's it.
And so then, like, how in terms of like what would a training schedule kind of look like for you, for a lead up to a tournament?
So in the last, let's say, 5 years, it's been a bit complicated for me because because of my studies, I was moving. I was not always at home to be able to train 24/7 at Tomáš's club. But so let's say in the last year, I had a gap year, so I was home more, so I would actually be able to train all the time, full time here. So we would start training, let's say 3 or 2 months before the competition, starting with training twice a day, and just build up from there. Yeah.
Yeah, and in terms of then, like, in terms of maybe I suppose strength and conditioning kind of stuff, would that come into your training much?
Yeah, I think at the beginning it was also like the basics and like getting the general strength and like, yeah, and then let's say 1 month before that to start focusing on sparring and like quick reactions and combinations. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, would you do like at the start? Would you do much sparring even at the start?
Uh, uh, we would do it, but not. It wouldn't be like the focus of training. Maybe just so for the for the feeling, but like really to really start focusing on it, it will be later on in the preparations.
Yeah. And like, who would kind of take most of the training now? Would it still be Thomas, or is it Alice, or who kind of takes most of the training for you?
Yeah, Tomáš was training with us as much as he could, but he had a lot of other stuff going on. So Aleš would be, he would take most of the trainings as well.
Yeah. Do you have a preference?
No, I think like they both have like their own, how can I say that? Yeah, training style, and yeah, I think we need both of them.
Like that's two legends of the sport to have to be able to train with.
Yeah, I know we're pretty lucky.
And like, so then how did you find, because you mentioned college, how do you find balancing training with college and maybe if you were working, how do you find balancing all that?
Well, now that I moved to Germany, I was very lucky actually to have had that there are two big clubs nearby where I live now. So I moved to Cologne, and there's a kickboxing club from where Peter Sar is the main coach, and it's like 40 minutes from where I live, so I can train there even if I don't have so much time. And there then Stangun from Triki Ibrahim in Dortmund, which takes me a little longer to get there. It's like 1.5 hours by train in one direction, but I try to like combine both of it, because I still want to do Taekwondo and I love their like training style. So I try to juggle all of that.
Yeah. So, what I know you maybe have answers before, but just for to have it, what are you studying in college in Germany?
So I'm doing sports psychology. It's a 2 years master's program. Yeah.
And would you have had a kind of a sports background in the degree you would have done beforehand, or is it something a change in field?
Before I did biopsychology, so that's like biological psychology. So it was more of that, and then I just figured out I wanted to focus more on the sport, like connect sport with that. So I found that that university that I go to now randomly, and that they also turned out to have programs in English. So it was I just applied.
And was did an interest kind of maybe be sparked up through your own experiences, through training and through competition, and kind of seeing that, you know, that maybe you had mental, maybe you had to improve the mental side of your game through your time as competing, and did that kind of maybe spark an interest, do you think, to go that route?
For sure. That's I think when I saw in my own experience, like when I was mentally in the right place, is that an expression?
Yeah.
How it could work and what an impact it can have on your competition, on your fights and everything. And I think also a big factor in that was training with Tomasz and just his mindset and all the, you know, his philosophy of everything. And I think that just made me see how important that really is, even if nobody directly speaks about it so much in our sport.
Yeah. And do you feel like that the one of the biggest reasons maybe when you didn't win, what was kind of more so down to maybe the mental side of the game more so than physical?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Even though, like, if you ask me at that moment, like before I had a bad fight, I would say no, I'm fine. But inside me, I would know this is not the, you know, optimal performance state. But yeah, it's just interesting because you can still know everything about it and still have like setbacks, and like when your own mind doesn't work for you anymore. So yeah, that's what I always found interesting. So I was happy to find a program that actually allows me to learn more about it and work in it one day.
Yeah, I think it can be hard sometimes to even tell yourself that, like, no, I wasn't, I maybe I didn't believe in myself enough there, or maybe I was nervous, maybe I was scared. It's hard to nearly say that to yourself, never mind, I suppose, admit it to maybe somebody else. But I think that sometimes you have to have those kind of conversations with yourself, to just admit to yourself, yeah, do you know what, I was nervous there, and I didn't perform, and you know, it was the mental side of things that let me down.
Yeah, or like it also happened to me in, I don't know, I think it was European Championships 2 years ago, that I was fighting in a, you know, the tatami that's lifted up like central ring, and I, instead of like focusing on my opponent, I was thinking, oh, like I can twist an ankle here, like it's so uneven. Like I was thinking about how I don't feel well moving on the tatamis. I was like focused, like I wasn't even in the fight. I don't know.
Yeah, just something just takes over. I remember nearly thinking that I was in the European Championships in Scotland, and I was about to go. I was waiting to fight the final, and I kept fixing my glove. I was like, no, this glove isn't feeling right. It's like, I tie it, and then I was like, no, it's still not right. And then I managed to catch myself and go, no, the glove is fine. Just focus. Yeah. I managed to catch myself, but like that, it was just something like this. I was just nearly focusing on. I was taking it off. I was taking them both off. I was just something strange like that. I was just messing with the gearing because I was thinking that there was something going on there, but like you said, it wasn't. You have to kind of, like I said, I was lucky enough to catch it myself.
Out of it.
Focus. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
but it's really good that you like noticed it and like did something about it. Like, okay, focus. That's
yeah, there's been other times where I haven't, where that hasn't happened. That was just one that jumped to mind there that I got lucky with. Um, yeah, so like, would you do you think the plan would be maybe at the end of all that to maybe work in the Taekwondo kickboxing space, or is it maybe more sports in general?
I think it would definitely be easier for me to work in that space, yeah, because I know how it feels, you know, to be in the ring, to like all that comes with our sport. And I imagine it could be difficult for me to at first to work with people from other sports, just because I wouldn't know exactly how they feel. But I think with time you learn to also, of course, work with other sports, especially because taekwondo and kickboxing are not really like Olympic and so well, you know.
Yeah,
But I think it would be my interest to work in that sport for sure.
yeah. Like we did before the World Championships in 2017, we did
Mhm.
a workshop where the guy's name's Ger Hussey, but he would have worked with the Irish Olympic boxers
Mhm.
in 2000, the Olympics in 2008, Beijing, I think London as well in 2012. And the Irish boxers did phenomenal at those two Olympic games.
Mhm.
And so like that, we did a workshop with him then in 2017. And the fact that he came from boxing, I think really helped, because like that,
For sure.
it's stepping into a ring, or, you know, or
Mhm.
stepping onto mats, and it's, you know, there's a fight, you know. So I think that there's, he understands the nerves and what you go through
Yeah.
beforehand. So I thought that workshop worked really well, because he had maybe we both had an understanding of what he was talking about, whereas
Mhm.
maybe if you
You could
were,
relate. Yeah.
yeah, and he
Yeah.
could relate to us as well then.
Mhm.
So I thought that worked really well, and I definitely took some really good things from it.
Mhm.
So yeah, like that, maybe not as much as if we were, I don't know, sprinters or shot put throwers,
For
you know.
years. Yeah.
would,
Yeah, for sure.
would
For
would
sure.
we have related as much? Maybe not so much.
Yeah. Maybe on the like on basics and like general things, but not like you said, stepping in the ring and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, because like he even made the point, like he was saying, you know, that with some of the guys there, that before you go into, like, you're in the dressing room, you sit down, they sit down on that chair, and it's, you know, the conversations you're going to have with yourself when you step into the ring. It's like, you know, it's
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff that you could nearly picture yourself, like you're sitting down, you're waiting for your go, you're waiting for your name to step up, gear check, you know. It's all the type of things that he was talking about that you can relate to. Yeah, actually that's kind of the same way, the preparation or same kind of steps that you nearly go through yourself.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think at one point every athlete is interested in that, but because you know the mental part and all the sports psychology stuff.
Yeah. And so, but like even then, just go back to, I know I said already, but just in Maribor, you've had two legends of the sport, but even since going to Germany, you've managed to train with some top level people there.
Yes, I really have. So Dangun in Dortmund is really a good club on high level competitors and everything, and I've really enjoyed my trainings there, and also wish that I could go there more often than just once a week, or in the exams period I couldn't even do that. But yeah, I was actually planning to when after I finished my exams, I stayed a couple of weeks in Germany so I could really focus on training more, because I didn't have my lectures and everything, and then come back here for a couple of weeks to train in Maribor, and then return for the semester start, and then go for Euros. But it didn't work out, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, like the two good gyms to be tried to split your time between, like a lot of high, like
Yeah.
even not even, I suppose, like obviously the coaches and instructors are high level, but you've also got
Mhm.
lots of high level people within the clubs.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely.
Do you think that is kind of big in, even, I suppose actually it's big in both of them. Do you think that kind of helps to have lots of high level people that to train with, and that kind of success breeds success to some degree?
Yes, for sure. I think the like you said, the high level people and like competitors who have not necessarily experience, but just the will to do it, that they push each other all the time, and like all just the atmosphere in the gym is, I don't know how to describe it. um
Competitive.
Yes, but in a good way, like just, you know, not giving up and like doing everything 100%, not just stop, oh, I'm tired and go out. It's just like give 100% and then everyone is happy and then you can leave, but not until you know.
Yeah, there's,
Yeah.
I suppose, maybe, so accountability, maybe, do you think would be,
Yeah, maybe that's
yeah, if you're slacking, and the person next to you isn't slacking, then
yeah,
you,
yeah,
you're suddenly going to maybe up your effort level.
yeah. Even if you don't feel like it in that on that day, you won't let yourself to just quit in the middle or like not give your everything you can at that point. So yeah, for sure, people you train would have a big impact on that.
Yeah,
Is it
and
also like that in your club?
my club, we don't have a lot of people at that level, but we have all the time. There has been like there's always been, 2, 3, 4 people that are at a high level that you can train with. It's just that the faces kind of change over. So maybe one goes off to
Mm-hmm.
college and does something else, and then all of a sudden there's a new person coming in, and you kind of, for me,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of, you nearly train them up a bit, and maybe they'll stay, maybe they'll go. But there's always somebody um, that I can train with and get some good training in with. But if I look at who I would have started training with in 2010 to who I'm training with mostly now, it's night and day. They're completely different people. It's the completely different, like
Yeah,
completely different stages
generations
of yeah.
age
That
then. Yeah.
like when I started competing, I was like even in the club or the people we would have been training with, maybe the younger one, whereas now I'm the older one, and it's even like that
Yeah.
on the team. On the team, I was obviously a junior, and now I'm one of the oldest seniors. So it just
It's the
changed
same
like that.
here. Yeah. Yeah.
It,
The teams are
it,
getting younger.
yeah, and you do.
Or getting older. Yeah.
And you don't notice it. Like one minute it's your first time as a junior at the championships, and the next it's like your 10th time stepping out of the championships, and you're one of the oldest people.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're just like 20 something.
Yeah, yeah. So like, yeah, our team average, the average age went down a lot this year because Hong retired. So Hong was keeping the average up.
So now it's on you to keep it up.
It's on me, yeah, me and Sarah and a couple of other people who are mid
Mhm.
20s and are keeping the age up. Yeah. And do you find there's been debate like training in Maribor and in training in Germany? So do you feel that different styles and maybe different philosophies has helped you improve your game?
Um, for sure. Although I think that the philosophy and maybe a part of training style is very similar from Tomasz and in Taekwon, but I think they just both focus on different things. So it's of course just a benefit for me to be able to train with both and focus on different stuff and yeah, combine everything hopefully in the competition.
Yeah. So have you done more? Have you done more points with in Germany?
Yeah, so when I first got there, I thought that because they usually train one hour of taekwondo and then kickboxing, and I thought I was ready with my dobok and everything. They're like, no, it's just a name. We do point fighting. Actually, it's more point fighting. So now we actually do point fighting and then light contact training. So they really focus much more on point fighting there than we do here, for example. So that would be the, I think, biggest difference. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
So
it helps. It works. Yeah.
yeah, I was going to say, so do you think maybe training more points has helped maybe bring something into your, maybe a little bit of a change in style, or maybe just bring something a little bit different into your game?
Uh, it has. So I think already when I was like in that other Slovenian town for the bachelor's and training, like doing the basics of point fighting training and learning how to blitz or like attack um, with your front hand and so on. That it actually did improve like some things in my taekwondo sparring that I haven't been doing before, or like crossing over a leg with the punch or so on. And I think that's doing that style had helped me in that aspect. Yeah, just to, I think, or to analyze the opponent more and like wait for the mistake and so on, you know.
Yeah. So that's even what I was going to say, is that do you think it maybe sparring against those styles more has maybe helped you if you see those styles in competition? Do you think that maybe has helped? That in training you've went against that style, so maybe in competition that would benefit you seeing that style if you go against somebody with a very points fighting style.
Yeah, definitely. Like I also enjoy like watching the really good point fighters. I think it's such a like the clean, like the speed, the clean points and everything. So I think it's I wish I was better in it.
Yeah, yeah. It's not something I've ever tried. Is the points fighting? I've played with some light contact, but I've done a couple of competitions. But it's mostly been Taekwondo. But I've done some light contact kickboxing, but I've never tried the points.
Not even on training, or?
Yeah, we do a bit of points, even just in Taekwondo. I don't mind it, but I think like it's a kind of that type of points is different to if you went into a proper kickboxing points environment. It's a lot quicker.
It's
So then, like, how many sessions a week would you tend to get in then? Do you think?
You mean in Germany now, or?
Yeah, sure, in Germany.
Well, in Germany, it's not as often as I was used to. So I was used to training here every day, but I also live like just 5 minutes by car from the sports center. So I would be able to go there every day. But in Germany and, big cities, it takes just half of the time to get there and so on. So I would train like 3 to 4 times maximum, even 4 times rarely. But the difference is that the training sessions are longer then. So at least when I come to Dortmund, I can do like almost 2.5 hours of really good training. And then, so it's not as much as I was used to, but I think, it can't always stay the same.
How do you find that before the competition then, in terms of like, have you found, I don't know, do you still feel as prepared before you step on the mat? You feel like that maybe you haven't done as much sessions, but
I actually didn't do as many competitions so ever since I moved there. So we had the WAKO World Championships in October, and I was in Germany for like 2 weeks, came back home. So I was still more or less training here and preparing here. And after that, I just competed at the Top 10 Open and in February, and that's it. So I could have answer you that question after the Europeans if they were on, but I don't know.
Okay, yeah. It's everything was kind of just ramping up, wasn't it? Like, we were on the home stretch. It was kind of getting into the heavy training. There was some good kind of competitions coming up. We had a tournament coming up. I had just competed when everything shut down. I was in London for a competition, and there was going to be a competition in Ireland. And so it was like everything was just heating up and getting into the height of preparation for the European Championship, and then everything just went boom, stop.
They canceled everything. Also in kickboxing, they like in a span of 3 days they canceled, I think, 3 biggest World Cups for the next 3 months. So
Yeah, and are they going to be rescheduled for a later date in the calendar?
I don't think so. I think they'll just have them next year as like normally.
Yeah, it's a strange time to trying to prepare for anything.
Yeah, and also for like, we don't know about the World Cup, and we also don't know for the European Championships for WAKOs this year. It's supposed to be 1 week after the World Cup, so I wasn't even sure yet if I was going to do both or just one, or what to focus on. But now I think nobody knows.
Where were those WAKOs Europeans meant to be on?
In Turkey.
Ah.
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be like last day of the World Cup, like team sparring on Sunday, let's say, and then that would already be the weigh-in day for the WAKOs. So I don't know what I would do.
You'd wonder who planned that.
Yeah. Right.
Did they not know that so many people do both, that they could maybe give it even just one more week?
Yeah, I don't know. why. I mean, World Cup was already planned in 2017, I think. Yeah, I don't know.
And do you think there's much of a, what do you think there maybe a reason is that so many Taekwondo fighters do so well in WAKO?
I think for sure the ability to kick, but I think all Taekwondo fighters have to, like, once they start seriously competing in kickboxing, to work on their boxing, because we're used to, like, after the action is over to, you know, step away, but in kickboxing they just keep going. So I know for me, like, going into seniors, that was one of the biggest, like, challenges I had to, you know, it doesn't end there and so on.
Yeah, because
So,
there's like so many Taekwondo fighters go to WAKO, like, and do well. Like, if you look at the World Championships, for like the winners from Germany, like a lot of them have done really well in kickboxing. Like, you look, Vitali has done well in kickboxing. I know Julio has done some kickboxing. Magomed has done some kickboxing. You know, even Antti Rintanen has done some. Colin has done some. Alamin, Danilo, all these guys. Like, you look, is like, have all done a bit in kickboxing and have done quite well. It's kind of funny, and that how well it crosses over.
Yeah, and also I think on the other hand, you get that much more experience because you have more competitions. You, instead of one major competition a year, you have two at least, and like World Cups, and I think that gives you a lot of more experience, more feeling for the fight and everything.
Yeah, the only problem, I suppose, is trying to fund all these trips.
yeah, okay, that's another thing.
Yeah. There's no government support in Slovenia, is there?
Actually, there is for kickboxing. The national team doesn't have to pay for the trips, so that's, I know how it is in other countries. I know that's very lucky for us again.
Yeah, that's one of the challenges that definitely we face in Ireland, is that everything you have to pay for yourself. So
yeah, I heard that.
It can be hard.
Yeah.
It can be hard. That's why always the junior teams tend to be big, because, you know, I suppose mom and dad might pay for them to go, and but then when you get senior, it's that stops and you have to pay for yourself. So that's why sometimes the senior teams that we bring can be up and down. We sometimes do big teams, sometimes do small teams.
Yeah. And also, if you're a senior, you probably work or like earn money, and you have to like take the days off, pay for it, and not get paid. You know, it's a lot. Yeah.
Do you think the Taekwondo might get some funding from the Slovenian government?
Oh, I didn't mention that. Yeah. So we also, I'm not sure if it's from the government, but we don't have to pay for the, like, for the World Cups, for example, we had to pay by ourselves, like Jamaica, and also I think for New Zealand, like the B class competitors had to pay like a lot of money. I remember like trying to make it work then. And yeah, so we actually don't have that much costs all in all. For example, also for the World Cups in kickboxing, we would have to pay maybe for the trip there, but then they would cover the hotel. So I can't complain. That's what I say.
Yeah. Is it the like Slovenian association that would cover that?
I think it's Slovenian Association, yeah.
Yeah, well, that would be, if we could get something like that in Ireland, that would be nice.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, I suppose like the benefit is, as well, I suppose, with Thomas being so competition orientated and being obviously heavily involved with, on the association level and ITF level, that does help. Yeah.
Yes.
So before we kind of nearly finish up, I've been asking people if you were to pick a favorite fighter, who would you pick? Can be taekwondo, can be kickboxing, but could be another sport. Could be boxing, could be, I don't know, MMA, could be whatever sport. But if you were to pick a favorite fighter, who would you pick?
So for males, I will say Tomáš Barada, just because.
Yeah,
And from the females, I've always admired Katja Solovey. So, yeah.
Yeah, good picks. I think Katja would probably be my favorite fighter, male or female. And surprisingly enough, yeah, I always watching the highlight videos on YouTube and then watching her compete live was always I really enjoyed that. So yeah,
that was in Sweden, wasn't it? 2010 when she had a gala final, and the whole crowd was like, "Whoa!"
with the 360 at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like, yeah, that was such a great way to finish that fight, to finish that match.
Yeah, it
like
was.
Yeah, final.
Also for us juniors, like seeing it for the first time, that was a good spectacle.
Yeah, but see, I remember even that one, seeing Alice fight Daniel Joa in the final of minus 80. That was another good one, because as well, I remember seeing Alice the next day in the hotel, and he was all bruised up. he looked a bit like the Joker. Was kind of what we were saying.
Yeah.
So
I guess that's also like seeing the like more experienced competitors from your team and seeing them succeed and like how good they are, like that also like brings the motivation in you and has you like working harder to
Yeah, I suppose not even like that when you're seeing someone like that, even not just from your country but from your club.
Also, yeah, exactly. Yeah, someone you see every day, and that's for sure.
So but I think we'll wrap it up there. I've really enjoyed the chat. Thanks a million for coming.
Me too. Thank you. It didn't feel that long actually, but it was 1 hour.
Oh no, yeah, it goes quick. It goes quick once you get chatting. It does go quick.
Thanks for having me.
I know, thanks for coming on, and like that, hopefully we'll be back training and all that sort of stuff. The stuff we enjoy doing, we'll get back to it fairly soon.
Yeah, for sure. We'll appreciate it so much.
Yeah, for sure. So stay safe, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, you too, Jamie. Bye. See ya.